Thank you, member. The member for Surrey Newton.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and it always is a pleasure to stand up and speak in this House. In fact, is an honour that very few British Columbians have enjoyed over the years, as we've heard earlier. Madam Speaker, it is a budget time, and I will speak about budget and what's in the budget and what's not in the budget, Madam Speaker. And you have heard the government side painting a very rosy picture that everything is fine. But if you really look at the budget document, you will find how many people and who is being left behind. Madam Speaker, before I get into that, I want to correct the member who spoke before me, the Minister of TransLink. He said that the opposition is against a foreign investment coming into British Columbia. He is light years away from the truth. Madam Speaker, what we are against, Madam Speaker, and the member from Point Gore has been raising this issue on a consistent basis, is that the purchaser, the investors coming into British Columbia, and Madam Speaker, using loopholes to avoid taxes that belong to British Columbians, Madam Speaker. That's what we are against. And they're also coming here, ripping off the sellers, and Madam Speaker, and the system that is in place where the sellers get ripped off by those deals where the real estate do not disclose who the purchaser is. That's what the debate has been, not what the minister described here, Madam Speaker. So I think that's what I need to correct the minister. Madam Speaker, I just want to talk about, in the beginning, about the constituency that I represent, Surrey Newton. I'm so proud, Madam Speaker, that I represent a community that is so diverse, that is so caring, and that is always engaged. And I said this during my throne speech, Madam Speaker, that there isn't a day during the week when you go around in Surrey Newton area, you see some of those banquet halls where a group or individuals are not engaged in raising funds for very, very worthy causes on weekly basis, daily basis, Madam Speaker. So I always admire their efforts, admire their caring and so engaged community, Madam Speaker. So I really am fortunate to represent that particular community. Madam Speaker, if I look at so many people that make difference in that community, it's amazing. There are people that I will talk about later on, Madam Speaker. But let's talk about the budget a little bit in the beginning and give a little overview where I stand and what I see in this budget. When you look at the budget, Madam Speaker, the tax breaks for the top 2% continues to the tune of $1 billion, Madam Speaker, $1 billion over 4 years. That is the tax break that this government chose over the working class, the middle class people who are asked to continue to pay higher taxes through BC Hydro rates, ICBC rates, park fees, BC ferries, MSP premiums. Madam Speaker, that's where the difference is here. They say that they made hard choices. Those are the choices they made. They decided to go and continue to give tax breaks to the top 2%. That is clearly is in the budget. And they continue to go deeper and deeper into the pockets of working people, middle class, and continue to deny services and benefits to those who are most vulnerable in our society, Madam Speaker. That is also in the budget document. Madam Speaker, I see that BC Hydro rate continue to go up, total of 29%, Madam Speaker. MSP premiums, $100 million are collected just through the increase this January, Madam Speaker. More increases are coming. BC ferry rates continue to go up. Park fees continue to go up. ICBC just raised 5.5%, and next year the rates will continue to go up. So that's the choice that this government made. They said they were hard choices, tough choices. Madam Speaker, those are the choices. And British Columbians feel it every day. The working class out there, the working families, people who pack their lunch pails in the morning, go through the traffic lineups, go to work, spend 8, 9, 10 hours, come home, take their children to games, soccer games, ice skating, you name it. Madam Speaker, they don't see any break for them. They are continue to be asked to pay more and more and more, and their lives are struggling. Madam Speaker, it always takes now almost two members of the family to work in order to survive. Under the under the reins of this government, there's no break on affordability, Madam Speaker. None whatsoever, Madam Speaker, and their lives will continue to struggle. Madam Speaker, there's no real plan in this budget that I see to deal with our public transportation shortfalls, both in Vancouver and Surrey. Madam Speaker, we've been promised in Surrey for years that the extension to Surrey will take place. In fact, it was agreed that it will be in concurrent with the Evergreen line. Never happened. Then finally, Madam Speaker, when we thought that there's an opportunity, the government chose to put that issue on referendum and ask the people of South of Fraser, how are you going to pay for the transportation promises that we made for you? They never asked that question when Expo Line was built, when Millennium Line was built, when Evergreen Line was built, when Portman Bridge was built, when the announcement to replace Massey Tunnel was announced, Madam Speaker. None of that required referendum. But when the time came for Surrey, then there has to be a referendum, Madam Speaker. And just for a few facts, south of the Fraser have half of the service of public transportation compared to Burnaby, Vancouver, Richmond. And their service is not adequate themselves, Madam Speaker. 1.9 hours on per capita basis, Burnaby, Vancouver, Richmond, compared to 1 hour south of the Fraser. And it's the fastest growing community. So there's no plan here to deal with the lack of services that we have in south of the Fraser. Madam Speaker, none whatsoever in this plan. Nothing. Madam Speaker, I don't know where our ministers from Surrey are. You know, you would hope, and I had talked to many parents out there, I talked to many of the residences. They asked me, what does it take to convince the government to bring some investment into this area, to build schools, to have more buses, where there are new subdivisions coming up, to extend the public transportation in that area, Madam Speaker? And I said, well, you know, we have 3 ministers from Surrey. They go to the cabinet. You would think that they have some clout on their cabinet. So far, Madam Speaker, we have seen that they have no clout. Now that is a shame. Not only that, we have, Madam Speaker, other Liberal MLAs from that area. And, you know, Madam Speaker, those Liberal MLAs are also complaining behind the scenes that the growth is in their areas and they don't see any investment in education, in transportation, or crime reduction, Madam Speaker. That's a reality, and there's no answer in this budget, Madam Speaker, to deal with those issues. Like I said, no relief in this budget for overcrowded schools in Surrey or Tri-City areas. 7,000 students are in portables in Surrey alone. 7,000. That makes it about 23rd largest school district in the province, the portables alone. And I'll talk about that a little more, Madam Speaker, how that is hampering the ability of our school board and our teachers to deliver the education services that our children deserve. Madam Speaker. I'll speak about that a little later. Madam Speaker, there's no comprehensive plan I've seen or the investment with the resources to combat crime in many of the cities in this province, especially in Surrey. 60 shootings last year, more shooting yesterday, Madam Speaker. Another shooting yesterday. So it continues on. No investment. This government is completely silent. They only go there for photo ops. And I spoke about this Monday morning, Madam Speaker. Talk about the RAP program that we have, such a successful program in Surrey schools. Rob Roy runs it. He was the person who created this. He runs it now. Madam Speaker, there's a waiting list for those that are at risk in those schools, those youths. Madam Speaker, it's a program so popular that now they're dealing with 100 students. But there's a wait list of 35 to 40. No one should be on a waiting list for that kind of need for at-risk youth, because they need help now. You can't tell them, wait a week, wait 2 weeks, wait until we get resources. They will be gone. Now is the time to go grab them and show them the direction and work with them so that they come back on the right track, Madam Speaker. Nothing, Madam Speaker. And we'll talk a little more about that. Mr. Speaker, there's no vision shown in this. No vision shown, I'm on a roll. No vision about our forest industry that built this province for the last 150 years. No vision. We continue to rely on raw log export. No leadership to utilize those raw logs right here in British Columbia so that we can create jobs with those logs for British Columbians. That was the intent 150 years ago when we started to utilize our forest commercially. Madam Speaker, I'm getting some looks here. I'm noting the hour. I will.